Hey everyone, great to have you on. Great to be able to talk to you a little bit more about the platform that Rise Analytics has built. Really excited to be able to co-present here with my esteemed colleague Zev Butler, AVP of Cloud Engineering and System Architecture. So he's going to be able to give you all a more, deeper dive into how we're leveraging AI and some of the applications. I'm going to run through, how our platform really forms the foundation for making that AI work for the credit union industry specifically. So our secret formula is not too secret. Our platform is a very flexible platform, as you're about to see, and some of you on the call have already experienced if you are one of our 125 clients on the platform. Thanks for rejoining and learning more about what you can do with the platform. We also have expertise. So we have an entire set of strategic consultants here at Rise Analytics who have all had extensive credit union experience. They help to guide our platform. So as you're about to learn, AI is much more than just tools. It's going to take the, human inputs. It's going to take the expertise of what to do with the AI and how to do it on that platform to really serve and give the best results for the business. So our tagline here is really transforming data into successful business outcomes. That's what we've been doing for over 30 years. So we are very proud to continue serving credit unions in this space, whether we call it AI in 5 years from now or whatever we call it. We're here to make sure that we can transform data into those successful business outcomes. So our platform brings data from all sorts of different credit union systems. We can work with data from any credit union system. So DNA, Episys, Keystone, XP2, PSU I have on the screen here. We can bring in data from any other source from every system that credit unions have ever used. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of different data from a lot of different systems. And the analogy I like to use here is that all of these data, all of these different systems, they're kind of like speaking different languages, right? And as many of you are familiar with AI, the most popular AI by far right now is LLM, large language model, right? So credit unions have been working with data for over a century, right? We've been working with languages from all these different databases. Most of them, I think, are speaking English or something close to it. But what we do with our platform is we translate all of that into one common language. So we work with all sorts of different, tools, all sorts of different technologies. I always joke that we're working with about 7 different decades of technologies from the DB2 databases, the XML files, the green bar reports, you name it. We've worked with it. Not only do we standardize that into a platform, as you're about to see with Snowflake, we also standardize the naming, which is essential for analytics. The semantics, as many of you have heard it called, is something is going to be crucial for AI to be able to understand, credit union terminology and how to arrive at the results that our users desire. So first step, we bring this into a CU data model. Everything we do is 100% focused on credit unions. We have a board of directors that's completely credit union CEOs. So we're owned and controlled by credit unions, for credit unions, right? So that's entirely dedicated to credit unions. So think member, think seg group, think all the other terms that credit unions like to use. We teach the AI that. We, standardize all of that. All of that is fed, into all our downstream systems. Next step is filtering and cleansing that data. And then finally enriching and standardizing it with AI. And then giving you all, the users, power to use AI's tools that we're going to be going through today in depth. So the next step here, or the next component, is the API. So we have an API that lets you get these AI results out to anywhere, whether it's our user portal, as I'll give a quick tutorial here in a second, whether it's a Power BI, a Tableau, any other visualization tool you're using at your credit union, whether it's a fintech application or an AI application, as we'll show shortly. So this is one example. We're getting data from all sorts of different, source systems that contain a RDT merchant name. If anyone's familiar with the system, raise your hand. You probably know who it is. This is just one example. Now imagine combining this from many different systems and having every merchant, kind of picking how they want their name represented or how their systems represent their name in your transaction narrations, in your merchant names. How many of you have been reviewing your credit card statements, or, most people just look at their mobile app now and say, I did not spend $125 at Doctor something. Maybe that was, something completely separate. It's something completely different, right? Same idea as we apply this to all of our members' data. Like, how are you going to get insights out of this data? And again, this is just one source system. Imagine bringing this in from three, four, five different systems and having all of this, kind of sitting out there. Can AI get use from it? For sure. AI can really get value out of any data set, but we're here to really present the power of trusting AI on top of a credit union's focused platform. So now our platform is able to turn these, raw data from all sorts of different languages into the insights and into, again, the AI driven, applications that can bring results to our credit unions. So I'll do a live demo quick here, and then I'm going to pass it over to Zev to really kind of go deep into the AI. But essentially what our platform provides, and this is the user portal, so you can log in with a username and password. You can see all of your, standard credit union reports, your executive reporting, your board reports, digital banking, member, who's a member, who's not a member, all the accounts they have with you, lending, payments, so on and so forth. What we're going to focus on today is a new product that we just launched a few months ago called Transaction Cleansed AI. So many of you, again, are used to seeing merchant information like this, and you can get this today through our data warehouse. We offer this report to our users. It's still deriving value. You can see some, powerful insights in here, Amazon Marketplace, Wells Fargo, Capital One, McDonald's, you can start to see some patterns in here. Unfortunately, they're all very hard to read. Oftentimes they get duplicated because one Uber is different from another Uber, and it's very hard to see, what exact merchants are being represented with this data. So now, again, sprinkling the AI on top, and we can go into a little bit of more details on the how here, but we're leveraging, a LLM to take all of this different merchant information and not only cleanse it, but also standardize it. So we see one iteration of Zelle. We see one iteration of all of these different, merchants. I'm going to quickly just pick one. I know it's getting closer to lunchtime for some of our West Coast friends, or maybe you're listening to this while it's almost lunchtime. So I'm going to focus on some of where different merchants that our members like to frequent for their lunches. So right off the bat, I can see that Chick-fil-A is the top choice for this data set here. So now I can come into here. I can get a list of every member that did a transaction there. I can go into all sorts of different insights about those members that had a transaction there. I can export that with our API. So that list that you just saw there. Keep in mind everything I'm going to show you here, and I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. Feel free to type any questions you have in the chat, and we can definitely open up anything that I went quickly over. But everything you're seeing here, they're visualizations, which are very powerful, right? And a lot of our users get a lot of good value from them. But all of this can be automated behind the scenes with an API. Not AI, but the API, right? So you take the AI results here. Right now we're focusing on the transaction cleansed AI, and all of this can be, again, automated to downstream systems with our API. So a few examples here, and I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. But member segmentation. So we leverage the power of, again, AI, machine learning to look into, what kind of buckets do these members fall into? So how many of our members are balanced users? How many of our members are engaged borrowers? How many of our members are seasoned savers? Just to name a few. And then we can turn it around and look at the member retention. So again, leveraging the power of, you guessed it, AI, to see how likely are these members to leave our credit union. So now we can see how likely they are to leave the credit union in the next 4 to 7 months is what we really focus on there. Next best product. Some people call it propensity modeling. You can see how likely they are to open one of these products again in the next 4 to 7 months is usually our sweet spot that we see for most of our models. Some of them a little further out, some a little sooner, depending on the type of model that we're looking at. Reason there is that back to that attrition example, if you know a member is going to leave 2 years from now, who cares, right? There's nothing you're going to do now that's going to change their mind in 2 years, right? If you know they're going to leave tomorrow, too late, right? So we really tune our models to look at kind of that sweet spot of 4 to 7 months. Oops, I went one step further. Let me pull back here. Doing it live. All right, so that's one way we can look at the next best product. Another one is the member lifetime value AI. So this one looks at, not only their existing value that they brought to the credit union, but their future value that they're going to bring to the credit union. Again, based on the next products they're going to open and how much value that those products bring to the credit union. So you can really hone in on which members may have a low existing value and a high future value or vice versa, and start to develop different marketing strategies, different member experience strategies to really, meet those members where they're at. And again, hyper personalize everything. That's kind of the name of the game for AI and especially LLMs is the hyper personalization. Risk, everyone's favorite four-letter word here, risk. We want to make sure that, we're addressing members' needs according to their risk profile. So we can see how many, members fall in the low, medium, high. Next best action is very, very cool. You can actually tell what action you can take with those members to encourage behavior. So if you want to encourage a certain sales opportunity here, you can, say, hey, reach out and try RDC or cross-sell a checking account because it has a high dividend rate. Or maybe you just want to educate them, send educational materials. These are just a few of our next best actions. There's a lot more that are possible as well. New member acquisition, where we'll find our next member. And I do have to reload just this demo here, where we'll find our next member. So this one leverages the power of third-party data. We actually bring in all of the postal code +4 level data for the tax returns throughout the entire country. We usually, kind of focus on which states the credit union is operating in, and we tell you where you're going to find your next best, member in a sense. Where is their next member going to come from? Finally, all of this can be boiled down into a single member view here. So if I want to look at one member, I can see all of this at that member level. As Zev's going to quickly talk about on one of the slides here, we can actually generate a script in AI that will tell us, hey, the next two products that this member needs. We actually have a third product in that script as well that's not shown on this visual, but it will actually give us a marketing message or a client interactive message that could be used. Again, this could be tailored to your credit union. You don't have to use the generic message that comes out. All sorts of possibilities that I will not get into. Zev will make that a little bit more clear when he gets on here. But this is one way that we've been giving, again, another example of AI at work here that you'll see in a second. But now I can generate a script and how I can interact with that member. If I wanted to customize any of these reports, it's pretty easy to come back here, customize the reports. As many of you are familiar with data visualization tools, you can edit them or you can use the power of Copilot. So again, another AI application that we make available to the users of our platform. If you are a subscriber to our data warehouse or our predictive analytics or our loan analytics, there is an option to get a power user license that allows you to leverage, again, the power of Copilot here. So if I want to say, show me the trending data on merchants for restaurants, I should have picked an easier one, but AI will know what I'm saying, even if I don't spell it correctly while I'm trying to talk and type here. Show me the trending data on merchants for restaurants and dining. So obviously this will be a very helpful tool when you're preparing a board report, when you're preparing, a certain presentation that you want to give. You can get insights here. I will not take the time on this webinar to show how you can use this Copilot to actually build out entire dashboards. You can actually just ask Copilot, build me an entire dashboard for my merchants, and it will build you out everything, including whatever you want. And you can say, I love pie charts. Give me more pie charts. Or I hate pie charts. No pie charts. Color schemes, all of that, really puts the power in your hands. So you don't have to learn every nuance part of the Power BI application. This puts that power in your hands so that you can be a BI developer and you don't have to, learn every single nuance of BI development. And then finally, jumping into Snowflake. So our platform is built within Snowflake for the consumption. So you can leverage Snowflake. So in here, if I wanted to do a query, so if I wanted to say, hey, show me all the different merchants, this will help me be a SQL developer, even if I don't have SQL skills. So I can say, show me all merchants based on merchant category. And I can say specifically for Chick-fil-A. I don't know if I spelled it completely right, but they'll know what I'm saying here. So now I can actually take that query that it generates. So obviously it's going to take a couple seconds here to generate. It tells me why it's generating what it's generating, which is very helpful, especially as you learn the data set that you're working with. You'll know, that that's doing what you want it to do, or maybe you need to tell it, never mind, exclude transaction ID and account ID. So you can really tailor this for what you want. Again, knowing SQL is important because you can make sure it's doing what you want it to do. But this helps you, again, not have to write the SQL. I can't remember how many times I've written select star from where, just doing the same old query over and over again. This will kind of eliminate that. So now I can literally just click this add button and it puts that SQL query right into here and I can run it. Give it a couple seconds here. It'll run, and now it's going to give me, all of the different transactions at Chick-fil-A. And from here, I could say, bring in the member's email address, bring in the, account ID, phone number, whatever else you want to do, and it will add it within the SQL. From here, you can copy the SQL. You could put it into a data visualization tool like Power BI. You could build a view. You can, sky's the limit, right, from here. So that's a very fast overview of kind of the platform. We kind of went into the user portal, how a user can interact with this data. And you don't have to be an AI expert. You don't have to even do any prompting for some of the things in the user portal. Then you can take it another step further. Coming into the platform or into the Snowflake area of our platform, you can generate this SQL. Finally, I just wanted to mention one last one, and that is Cortex. That's one of Snowflake's AI applications that all users that have a Snowflake subscription. We have a product that we call Data Lake that allows our clients to set up a Snowflake account and have access to all of the data warehouse, predictive analytics, the data store, loan analytics, and you're able to use that. So before I jump right into there, oh, I wanted to go back where I was. There we go. So now if I wanted to connect this to my data, I can connect this to anywhere. And then I could generate a prompt that says, anything. I'm not going to take time right now, but I could write a prompt in here that says, give me a message for members that, love Chick-fil-A and have more than $20 balance in their checking account, or whatever you might want to say. And then that'll give you a marketing message that you can then send to that, credit union member. So that was the, tutorial here. So I'll go back into presentation here. So we've been seeing some really good success. So with Bayport Credit Union, we were able to leverage the transaction cleansed AI. That's the name of the product that we are, the kind of the name that we've chosen for the product that takes merchant data, takes ACH, takes all sorts of other data that is being transaction data that we cleanse. So we've already been able to cleanse about 132,000 merchants. That's actually stale. I think I built this slide like a few weeks ago. I think that number has climbed quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. 30 different spending categories, and we've cleansed 120 million transactions already. So now we are able to deliver, that value to the credit union that they've never had before. Again, leveraging the power of AI. So this is the challenge, and this is where Zev, you're going to get into, some of the reasons that we have chosen the different tools we have, and some of the tools that we have behind the scenes that you all can use in partnership with Rise. And we're also working to get all of them, into the UI of the user portal. That's really a goal for a lot of these, tools and applications, so that we can make this as easy as possible for all of our users on the platform to use. So data is not, most data, and this is where a lot of AI vendors out there that you're going to, come across, they're not focused on credit unions, right? They've built their models on the entire internet, or they've built it on, various data sets. They're not focused on credit unions. They kind of have their foot in a lot of different industries. AI is fueled by data. So it's only as good as, the architecture and how the quality of the data comes in. So this mastering, and I do not have time to go into all of these points here. So stay tuned for other webinars coming up and other webinars that have been presented on our website. But we master the data. We do a golden source. We do all sorts of different data warehousing techniques and technologies behind the scenes. All of this to get it into this platform that forms the foundation for AI for credit unions. So again, I kind of put this image in here of the credit union famous logo here. That's really what's required to make AI really speak the speech of credit unions. So that's the final slide I'll have here, and Zev, I'll hand it over to you on the next slide. But this is really our platform. A very busy slide. Feel free to take a screenshot, or the recordings will be sent out as well. But our platform does a lot. But at the end of the day, it's built, again, on the modern technology. It leverages AI throughout, as Zev's about to show you, and it also, makes these, analytics solutions very easy to use for the end user. So without further ado, Zev, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, sounds good. So we have a suite of 7 predictive models. Nate, do you want to maybe go through what those 7 predictive models are first?
Yeah, I quickly went through them on the
Yeah,
demo, but they are member segmentation, retention, next best product, next best action, member lifetime value, member risk score, and new member acquisition. So that's the suite of 7 that kind of come together, deliver an excellent experience there.
all right, thank you. So next is our front-end staff assistant, which is going to be able to take member data for our next best product or next best action and kind of generate a script off of why next best product or next best action makes sense for this user. So it gives your front-end staff a quick way to look up if a member comes into the credit union. You could generate the script and have the reasons and benefits why these next best products make sense for this particular member. And then we just went through Snowflake Cortex. I saw there was a question in there. You do not have to train the Cortex model. There are pre-trained models. You can train your own and then use that instead, but you do not have to train Cortex. And like Nate said, Cortex is built into Snowflake, and so you'll get that with our Snowflake platform.
Yeah, and you can also train, right within some of the models that have access to Snowflake. Right when you get into some of the Cortex, I'll call them applications or models, they actually do say, here's a training, and you click training, and then you click what data set you want to train it on. But yeah, they're already all pre-trained for the functions that they perform.
Exactly. Next is our Snowflake Copilot, which Nate also demonstrated. That's going to generate your queries. It just uses an LLM, just like you would in ChatGPT or Claude to, create SQL queries, except it has context into your data. So you're able to generate smart queries and have a nice assistant helping you script things. And I'm going to show some other tools coming up that will help your developers and empower your dev staff using AI and 10x your developers. So, and we can also talk about how we can help with implementing that with our professional services team. The next thing is the Power BI Copilot. Again, Nate covered that. You can go into Power BI, ask questions about your semantic model. And you can go to the next one. Rise IQ Assistant is right now it's basically pointing at our user portal documentation. So you can ask a question about the portal. How do you create a user? How do I create a bookmark? But the plan is to use some of the tools that I'm about to show you to enhance the experience for querying your data right from our portal. So you'll be able to ask questions about, your members or accounts or anything that's in our Snowflake warehouse right in the portal. And I'm going to show a quick demo of that in a few seconds.
Mhm.
We also use AI to master and map the data, as Nate showed with merchant cleansing. And we plan to further implement AI to map and master data as we grow our AI platform in the back end. So we will be planning on doing some of that. And Nate, if you had anything to say about that additionally.
Yeah, many of you who have experience, combining multiple systems together, is it, the pain it is. we've been able to leverage some of these latest and greatest AI tools and technologies to basically ask AI like how to map this system and this system and this system all into a common data set, right? So that's helped us tremendously because again, a lot of these databases, it's basically large language, right? All these databases have a lot of language, and we can leverage LLMs to kind of get it all into one common language.
Yep, exactly. And then internally, we use Claude Code for our internal development, and then that's the platform that we can uh, come into credit union with our professional services team and help uh, teach your developers how to use the AI tools that we use internally. And I'm going to show some of the workflows that we actually use here at Rise Analytics. So I'll get into that right now. Thanks, Nate.
All right, I've stopped sharing. Over to you.
I'm going to turn my camera off just because it's a little intensive on my laptop.
Here we go. Buckle up.
All right.
I'll watch the lights over here in Tampa, see if
Yeah,
anything.
I'm drawing all the power. So before I dig in, I just have a quick diagram to show like what our workflow looks like internally and what we could implement, at your credit union for your developers. We use Claude Code, which is an agent that does run on a developer's laptop or PC. And that has the ability to plug in other agents on top of it. So, what is an agent? An agent is something that can actually perform work for you over a long running period of time. So, for example, generating code or documentation or querying a database and pulling data from that database to learn what is actually in that database. And that's some of the tools that we use internally to actually generate some of the things that we're doing. Um, and just for some examples, we have, a product manager agent where you give it instructions on what you want to build. So if I wanted to build a to-do list application, I would say, I want to build an application, and here's, I want to be able to list my items, my to-do list, create to-do list, edit my to-do list, and be able to check them off. And I would feed that into the product manager agent, and the product manager agent is instructed to, here, I'll pull up an example of what that kind of looks like. So the product manager agent is it's instructed to act like a product manager, and it has all sorts of instructions on how to write stories, how to write features, functional requirements, user requirements, and do checks and balances on the features that it's generating. So the output of this, if I were to take a look at what this actually generates. So in this case, I wanted it to generate a credit union data warehouse product. So in here, you'll see that the product manager generated an elevator pitch statement, problem statements, target audience, success metrics, personas on who this is targeted for, and then features and stories written in a very agile way. So as a data analyst, I want to complete member profile, combining all touch points so I understand the full member relationship. And then what we do with these agents is we take this context and we feed it into the next agent. So I would then take the specs from the product manager and pass it into a system architect. And then that would also generate an architect plan for that specific product manager's features. And it just keeps going down the line. We would pass that to an engineer who would pass it to a QA um, uh, automated test agent that would generate the tests. And these are all things that we can do and come in and help your credit unions get your developers up to speed with these types of technologies because it's going to really increase the productivity of your development teams and the quality of the product that comes out because not only does it generate code well, it also generates fully automated tests and with whatever testing platforms or suites that you use. Here we use DBT. So we use DBT tests. We have end-to-end tests on all of that stuff. So that's what we do with the agents. So another thing that part of the agents is you need to also give them, let's say we wanted to connect to Snowflake and give it context into our data. So say we had a business data analyst agent and we wanted it to look into our Snowflake warehouse to be able to ask questions about the data. We could create what's called an MCP server, and that provides tools to the LLM to be able to generate queries, actually execute them, and give us results back to our LLM. So an MCP server is something that we are going to make available to clients that want to participate using one of these. And this will allow you to connect our Snowflake data warehouse with your data to an LLM of your choice. So it works with ChatGPT, it works with Claude, it works with Gemini, and any of the other tools that your credit union has or is approved to use. And with that said, I'm going to show you what the actual MCP server does by using Claude Desktop. I'm going to open up Claude here. Told you it takes a lot of computing power. So this is connected to our data warehouse, and what I'm going to do is just ask it, what does the member attrition look like for this credit union? This is all demo data, so you'll see that the LLM already picked up that we have an MCP server connected as a tool, and it's testing its connection to Snowflake and then kind of discovering the data in Snowflake to figure out what it needs to do to be able to query these items. And just we also provided this MCP server at the CU build this year. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's a credit union build event where developers go to write some software against Jack Henry, and we provided this MCP server to be able for the developers to be able to have context into the data. So you see here it's trying to connect to the different tables that are out there, found that there's a member attrition table. And one other thing I want to point out is as you use this MCP server more and more, it learns about your data and remembers where things are. So that way, in the future, if you ask it about member attrition, it will automatically remember where that was and what table it needs to go to. So we'll just let this work a little bit. So there we go. It's looking at that. Another nice thing is you can actually, if you're using something like Claude Desktop or ChatGPT, you can actually see the work and the queries that it's performing. So like Snowflake's Copilot, you can come in here and see the queries that it's actually generating and copy those and paste those directly into Snowflake. So now it found the results, and it's actually going to create, as you can see, my laptop's not very happy with me right now, but it's going to create a kind of view of what it found about member attrition. Now, you would need Cloud Desktop to be able to do this, and what it's going to generate is not something that I would, publish to production. It's going to be static data based on right now. So this is a tool that we are going to provide eventually in our portal. Nate, if you had anything to add to that. Oh, it's finished. Never mind. So here's kind of a view of our member attrition analysis. This went out to Snowflake, and as you saw, I only asked very, very short sentence. I said, what does member attrition look like? Well, it decided, I'm going to show you how many members you actually have, how many high-risk members you have, medium-risk members, low risk, and it also is showing us member attrition risk distribution. So very easily, it was able to just get a view of what my data looks like just by using Cloud Desktop and getting the insights that I need right now. And this, again, we're going to be providing features like this in our portal. I think after next quarter or PI.
Yep, definitely in development on this. I think everyone's very familiar with this type of interface now as we start to use things like Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini,
Exactly.
you name it. Everyone's getting used to this. So we're starting to develop a way for our users to interact with data within the platform in a similar fashion.
Exactly. And to add to that, the MCP server would also be if you have developers in-house and you want those developers to be able to access the MCP server and build apps on their own using our MCP server into the data, they would be able to also do that using our API into the, not the API, excuse me, using the MCP server. And that's really all I had, Nate. I think we're
Awesome. Yep, if you stop sharing, I'll grab it one last time. Got a couple more slides to cover, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. All right, let me go from current slide here. Next one here. All right. So I'll call to action. I already shared some of what we've been able to do with one of our clients, Bayport. We have one that's hot off the press. It was just kind of presented yesterday at the CUlytics Virtual Day, which is a really cool event that our partners over at CUlytics put on. But Phil Swift did an amazing job kind of presenting the benefits of how Centris is leveraging a couple of our AI products, looking at the next best product and a couple other models that they're leveraging to build out marketing campaigns. They actually did one with their traditional and existing marketing platform. They ran our predictive models to really focus on a specific segment of members for a specific next best product, and they ran it, and it was 2.5 times better than their existing marketing platform. So the price that they are paying for this model versus the amount of money, I think it was about $25,000, if I'm going to quote Phil from yesterday. Let me just say it'll more than pay for the model that they're using now to drive these campaigns, and they're able to kind of go above and beyond what the marketing team was able to do with their existing marketing platform. So they're looking for ways to see where they're going to get the next marketing campaign focused on leveraging again the power of AI here. So we are going to open it up to Q&A now. So if there's any questions, Cassie, feel free to read a couple. But again, I mentioned we have about 125 clients on our platform. As you can see, each one of these are clients throughout the United States. I'll get everyone 25 seconds to count them, make sure there's 124 there. But yeah, we are representing over 13 million members and getting close to about 250 billion in assets. So as you can imagine, lots of things we're able to leverage with AI. A lot of it depends on the adoption of our platform, which I'm really happy to say we've hit this amazing milestones with our platform. So we're able to leverage all of that, anonymized data, of course, to build out much more powerful AI, which is really, really the major value of the credit union movement and a platform, a cooperative, which rises is really kind of how this industry is going to move forward. So really excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to kind of move forward with many of you on the call. So any questions, we'll be happy to take them now.
Yeah, all right. We actually have a bunch that people have kind of been submitting here throughout the portion of the webinar. So just as a reminder for everybody, there is a Q&A box at the bottom of kind of your Zoom panel. If you go ahead and click that, you can type in any question. So we won't be using the actual webinar chat, just this Q&A panel. So to get us started, this first one sounds more like a clarification, but somebody is asking, in order for these models to work, do the credit union's descriptive reports need to be accurate?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the best question to ask before you start getting, going with AI is my data, accurate? Is it correct? Is it cleansed? I think yes. The answer is yes. Let's make sure that, you get all your data in. That's what we work with you on that data warehouse, and descriptive analytics is what we call some of the reports that we built on top of data warehouse. But yes, we want to make sure that all of that's validated, all of that data is looking good and as expected before you start, kind of trusting in AI on top. Although I would caution to not go too far, too far counting, every single, email address. If you're missing a couple, if you're missing a couple names, if there's a couple nuances within the dashboards, I would not say, you should wait 6 months to get that perfect before you start using AI. As Zev showed very clearly, AI tools, they kind of show you how they're thinking, which is the most important part of AI, in my opinion. Because if we just asked AI and it just spit out an answer, I would never, it would be hard to trust because it would just give you a number, right? It actually tells you, I got this number because I took this element, and this is the power of the semantic, having a very clear semantic layer, which we have. I used these 5 data elements in combination and came up with an answer of 72, right? So I would say quality is very important, but sometimes perfect is the enemy of good, right? You want to make sure that you can move forward in parallel. And the cool thing about AI is that actually helps you find some of those quality issues too. You can say, why in the world is it 72 when I
Exactly.
know it's 90? And you can say, well, why is that happening? And then the AI might say, well, because you have 25 null values in account balance. So again, I don't want to go too long on this webinar, but be happy to talk more with whoever asked that question.
And to tie that into there's another question that I actually typed an answer to, and it's not on the question page, but it's how consistent are the outputs for something like this, which ties right into what Nate was saying, is that context is key when it comes to AI. Something else that we're working on behind the scenes is we do have a metadata MCP server tool into all of the fields and descriptions of our data warehouse, and we can combine those two things, the Snowflake MCP tools and the context together to help get a more accurate uh, result with AI. Is it going to be 100% perfect 100% of the time? No, just like ChatGPT, when you ask it a question, sometimes if you don't give it enough context, it's going to just hallucinate and give you not the right answer. Maybe it's not the wrong answer either.
All right, thank you guys. We definitely have some more in the queue, so I hope you're ready to answer. So somebody's asking, what are the security slash compliance policies in regards to PII for members? Are we ensuring that highly sensitive information is safe and secure?
Yeah,
That,
Zev, you can
yeah.
definitely go into the details, but I'll say right off the bat, we're SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant, PCI compliant. We have all of the credentials to protect your data, and all of our AI, that we're showing you today is all done within your, only your data, the environment that you have. It does not go outside your walls, doesn't bring data outside your walls. So, Zev, sorry, I didn't mean to steal any of what you were going to
No,
say,
it's
but
okay.
that one came right out. I want to make sure I should have said that at the very beginning of the
Yeah.
webinar that all of this AI is done within your environment. It's not using the web. It's not bringing your member data to the web. I wanted to make that very clear.
Yeah, and when you do hook into our MCP server, the model that we are using is privately hosted. It's within our private network walls and within Azure. So nothing goes out to the internet. Um, it's all private, and we, like he said, we're SOC 2 PCI compliant, SOC 1.
Thank you both. Um, Zev, I know you typed this question's answer, but I still want to bring it up in case other people
Yeah,
can't
sure.
see this. Somebody did ask for Cortex, do you need to train the model? And I know you answered, but if you would answer that live, I think that would be really helpful as well.
Yeah, sure. No, you do not need to train Cortex. There are pre-trained models included. You can train your own models, and you can write, Python to train models and bring your own. But there are many Cortex pre-trained models for very specific things. Llama. There's a bunch of different ones out there that they provide.
Awesome. Next one we have is somebody's asking if we have AI integration specifically with ICE Mortgage and Compass for QC and post-closing purpose.
Yeah, one of our domains that we heavily focus on is loan origination. And like I mentioned at the beginning, we can work with data from any source, so it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. But we do build, for some strategic source systems, we build out like a full integration with them. And that's definitely one that's on our near-term roadmap. So we'd be happy to work with you to build out that full, integration right into the source system itself. I know ICE was working on having their data be in Snowflake Azure. That was one of their last, development efforts we were waiting on. So if they're ready, we're ready. So be happy to whoever asked the question can, make sure we'll work with you to get that live.
And just to be clear, we have two ways to ingest data, right? We build either a custom connector into that system, or we have something called source agnostic, where we can just bring the data right in without any custom connectors. So, like he said, we
Yep.
can bring in any data. It's just we would like to make a connector for that specific system. We were just waiting
Yeah.
on them to migrate.
Awesome. Another one we have is how easy is it to transfer all of your data from our different vendors to your platforms?
I'm smiling a little bit because some of it depends on the vendors, right? But like I joked earlier, we work with about 7 different decades of technologies. We work with all sorts of different vendors and different hosting situations. I mean, I could start naming a lot of them on here, but I don't want to take up too much time on this answer. But the answer is yes, we can work with, pretty much any data situation you have. So yes.
Awesome. Let's see here. Okay, somebody's asking what training is out there from Rise or Sherlin's Cooperative Holdings to kind of get more familiar with these platforms.
Yeah, I should have left a slide in there that kind of talks about a lot of that. But basically, at Rise, like I mentioned very briefly at the beginning, we have a team of strategic consultants. We actually named one of our areas within that team is called the ambassadors. So we actually have ambassadors that will either come on site or do it remotely, depending on your credit union's preference. And they offer a whole host of training, engagement. And then we have an entire, professional services team that can add more training as well if the credit union wants to go much, much deeper. Um, Also, there's just readily available online sources for a lot of the platforms and tools that we're working with. Or you can just ask some of the AI tools, like write me a query within this, or even you can ask Copilot how to write a SQL query in Cortex and Snowflake. So it's a really cool age we're living in for sure. But yes, we do offer training and to whatever degree the credit union wants.
And something, Nate, I don't know if we do want to add this, but for clients, we do have in-person sessions that we call Rise Academy, and that will greatly get you that really hands-on experience. And I'm going to actually put that into the webinar chat. If you are not currently a Rise Analytics client, please, reach out to us to see how you guys can get into these sessions. They are very, very useful for getting to know the platform.
We actually have one coming up in about 7 weeks, so now is the perfect
That's
time
great.
to ask your manager, and it'd be well worth the investment to come on down.
For sure. And then I see we have one more, and then I'll kind of close us out. Somebody's asking if they could see how the tool is demo. Wait, let me read this a little bit better. Um, does the tool need some kind of supervision, and who can provide that? Will Rise help?
So I see this probably based on the agents. Yes, it is a massive accelerator. It needs supervision to look at maybe the results. Again, a lot of the agent, like for example, we have the Q&A or QA and integrated test agents that will write tests against the code that it does generate. So, while you should look at the code that it generates, you can trust the tests that come out of it. So you don't have to, it's just like what I tell developers that I teach AI to is that think of it like a compiler where you back in the day where you wrote assembly to write your app and then they wrote something to compile assembly. So you had to write simpler code to write assembly. AI is the same thing. It's going in that direction. It's the next step or evolution of coding where you're just going to just trust what comes out of it like a compiler if you have enough context around what you're doing. And context is key. And yes, we will help. We do have a professional services team that can help with training developers, getting them set up, getting your environments up to par with AI.
Yeah, we administer everything we're showing you today. We'll administer, for you, so you don't have to worry about how setting up Snowflake data lake, right? How to set it up, what to do. And we want to make this as easy as possible for our clients. So you can either, leverage exactly how we give it to you in the user portal, and if you want to go into some of these tools like Snowflake, like everything Zev was sharing, we're going to administrate the tool, and then we'll make sure that you can use it in its full potential.